Secrets, if you really look at yourself, you would be speechless. What happened to being doctors and teachers? What happened to being your brother's keeper? Nowadays, kids more worried about.
Hey Soul Family, this is Melanie from the Spirit Doula channel here on YouTube, and you are now watching Mr.BandClap TV.
You're in the mix with the DJ always banging the real DJ BandClap.
Boy, you know you make me float. Boy, you really get me high. Ooh, I feel like I'm on dope. 'Cause you serve me on a regular. Boy, you tie this rope. Before you drift any deeper, baby, now hold me close. Let's take this overboard now. I want you to rock the boat, work it, work the middle, work the middle, change positions. Stroke it for me, stroke it for me.
Oh, I like this.
Choose it, choose it, choose it, choose it.
Choose.
Choose it. But I don't wanna choose.
I swear I don't.
Choose it, choose it,
I swear I don't.
choose it. But I don't wanna choose.
I swear I don't.
Choose it, choose it, choose it, choose
Here we go.
it. She want me to come stay over. She caught a flight with no layover. Drinking all night with no hangover. Drinking all night with no hangover. She never asked me to pay for it. She never text me, just wait for it. Turn you into my PYT. If not, then tell a friend, 'cause I'm so. Choose it, choose it, choose it, choose it. Choose it. But I don't wanna choose. Don't. Choose it, choose it, choose it, choose it. Choose it. But I don't wanna choose.
Feeling like I'm fresh out boozing. If they want the drama, got the ooze. Ship the whole crew to the cruise ship. Doing shit you don't even see in movies. Ride with me, boss. I got a hard head, but her ass off. She want the last name with the ring on it. 'Cause I pulled out $1 million cash, told her blank on it.
I don't need nobody else now. Won't even check for the options. Know that I'm not out here choosing. No, I ain't letting no option. Ain't no adoption, you know I'm yours. Don't you give up on the kid. Look, this wasn't planned, but you still my baby. You should pull up to the crib. Look, I got so much I can give. Yeah, still trying to give you no choice. Yeah, I don't know nothing about crying, but how about some loving up in this Rolls Royce? Oh, hold up. If you curb me, mind your business. Just know that's how fine your friend is. Nah, I hate that choosy ass shit. I do. Yeah, he tried to talk to me as shit. For real? Just wanna do me, that's it. That's it. They gassing up rumors and shit. Well, they gotta catch me in traffic. I'll be your #1 draft pick. Just gotta choose me.
Choose it, choose it, choose it, choose it. Choose it. But I don't wanna choose. Don't. Choose it, choose it, choose it, choose it. Choose it.
Ooh, baby, I love your stroke. 'Cause you get me where I'm going. Yeah. And surely you get my vote. 'Cause I believe you know just what you're doing now. Baby, now we can coast. Let's go. Just don't get in a hurry. No, that's too slow. Hey, go ahead and put that thing in order. I want you to rock the boat. Ooh, work it, baby. Change positions. Now stroke it, baby. Stroke it for me. I want you to.
Oh, I like this.
Choose it, choose it, choose it, choose it.
Choose.
Choose it. But I don't wanna choose. Choose you. Choose it, choose it, choose it.
You hit
choose
me deep in my heart, I select you. #1, nobody fit. Yes, you're worthy, I cannot lie. You're deserving, I can't deny. Nobody get nobody if you get enough. Yeah. Nobody get nobody who's good enough. Yeah. Hold you down, hold you down. Girl, believe it, I'ma hold you down. Yeah, yeah. And if I tell you, say I love you, girl, I'm with you. Girl, I'm with you. Yeah.
Oh, we got them choosy now.
Choose it, choose it, choose it, choose it.
They choosy all over the world. Right here in the States, to Mother Africa, to Australia, South America, Asia, all over Europe.
Top speed now, gas and get pressed. If you don't get the next time, do your next best. 250 the dashboard, that's what just we a fuck up the highway, go on west west. Tell your friend, don't fuck around here. On the black eagle and no chicken a best dress. Baby, come here, make me touch your left breast. Put your foot on the dead, let's love in excess. You want see we homeless, me no cater fi bad mind. Who no hopeless, na the S-class. The fool them a protest. Never knew enviousness was a process. Hold me the closest, baby, me and under your pretty gold dress. Come by your face, call it a protect. Come by your face, call it a protect. Fast life, fast drive, fast lane, fast life, fast everything. Fast car, fast door, fast night, so high, fast everything. Speed of light, speed of light, fast everything. Fast everything. Them a say the world boss. Make y'all wind up like a car glass. Too fluffy y'all hold me tight, can't pass. Want me fi teacher our class. Can ride on the bike, the feature are fast. Light up a spliff, the reefer our grass.
Alright y'all, so we back. Welcome to another BandClap TV rant video. Yeah, I mean, you know how we do it. So shout out to everybody who's been checking out my videos. Shout out to my new subscribers. And I really hope y'all are feeling that mix that I did. Shout out to my baby girl Melanie for the wonderful intro. And it's crazy because I've been meeting a lot of Melanies lately. And y'all already know, if y'all been following me, that in 2017 I actually had two twins. I had a little boy named Aiden, little girl, and her name was actually Melanie. Now they passed away, and that was a very, very difficult time for me. But me being the spiritual person I am, I know that I didn't lose them. So every time I see that name and it's linked to somebody helping me and stuff like that, I always give a ashe to my daughter that's out there in the spirit world, still doing her thing. And every time when it comes to the dark side and I have warrior gods and that type of energy protecting me, I know that ain't nothing but different aspects of my son. So I send that ashe out to him as well, because he was a fighter. And I mean, what can I say? He gets it from his father. At least I try to be, man. Yeah, I mean. So if y'all hear a little reverb in this podcast, don't pay it any mind. I'm actually in the library. Yes, I said the library because I'm a southern dude and that's how we say it. I'm in the library that I used to go to when I was a kid. And it's just funny because if y'all follow me on Instagram, I mean, y'all should be following me on Instagram at BandClap TV. I did this video series on my story called Going Back Down Memory Lane. And I was just showing y'all my neighborhood and different places that I used to go to as a kid and how everything has changed since I left. And it's one thing about myself that I really started to really notice. And I feel like this started around the time that I graduated from high school. And it is that with me being so insecure in myself back then, for me to be able to quote unquote move on and upgrade myself, I really had to do a lot of letting go when it came to different aspects of my childhood, to the point where I've put so much of those memories on a back burner that I started to forget that I even lived in those different places. It's even to the point now where I'm back at home in Memphis and I'll be here for a couple more days and then I'm headed back to Orlando to do the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. But it's like I've been away from home so long that even home doesn't even feel like home anymore. So even though I'm happy to be here, you know, I'm happy to be around my parents and spend some time with my little brother, my inner self is like, all right, you know, when is this letter gonna get here so I can go ahead and leave? So it's like literally when I was going down memory lane, and it's crazy because I don't know if any of y'all experienced this, but have y'all experienced to where, you know, you put stuff so far back into your memory that you damn near forgot it until you get in front of that place or until you get in front of that area. And when you get there, it's like all of the memories memories that you thought that you put behind you, they just start rushing back. Now with me, it wasn't necessarily a traumatic thing because I did the shadow work, so there's no emotion other than, man, I remember this, or man, I remember that. But I wasn't sad or mad or anything like that. It was just me being in awe that things have changed so much since I was a kid, and I used to frequently go to these places. Now, this library that I'm currently at, which is like the major library in Memphis, it means a lot to me simply because, like I used to tell y'all, even when I used to be at home, I never wanted to be at home. I mean, you know, once I got in my teens and I really started to branch out and I had different goals and I had different things that I wanted to do that I really started to see wasn't in line with the traditional things that my parents and my family and all of that wanted of me. This is when I really started to be rebellious, and I just didn't want to be at home like that. So there was only a few places that I could really go, because with me not really having a whole lot of friends like that, it wasn't like I can go over a friend's house or something like that. Now, I did have some white friends when I was a senior in high school, and I may tell that story about what happened with them later on. So a lot of times I would tell my dad that I was going to band practice, but I would really be over my friend's house or something like that. So I only had like 3 different places that I could really go. It was A, over my friend Daniel's house and his homies / band practice, or B, the University of Memphis, where I would get my lessons at, and then I would just go there just so I can go to the music room where they got all the computers and the keyboards, and that's where I learned how to make beats and use Reason and use Pro Tools and all of that stuff. And that's what really got me started as a producer and a composer. Or C, the library. Now, anybody from Memphis, y'all know that the best library is the big library on Poplar. That's like the central library. It got like 3 or 4 floors on it, and you got a lot of places with computers and stuff like that where you can go and get on the computer. So that would be my form of escape. So every time I had a homework assignment, even if it was something that I could just do by myself, I would always ask my dad to take me to the library. And see, this was back during that time where the computers first started to get CD burners on them. And this is right before they started taking the CD burners out the computers, and they really started to restrict the access of the USB drives and stuff. So I used to go there and burn CDs. I know I'm telling my age, but how many of y'all out there remember Real Player? So I used to go on Real Player and I would burn my CDs, make CDs for people, and then I had a little MP3 player. So I would download songs and put them on my little MP3 player, because it was just something about music. It was just something about it that really, really braided in who I am. And no matter how much my parents or my family or anybody tried to dim that fire, it was just something that my inner self would always find some type of way and figure out how to keep that part of me from leaving me. One of my homeboys that I went to school with gave me his old CD player, and you know, at the library they give you these real whack earbuds for $1. And I mean, they only lasted like a week before they went out, but I really didn't care, because I'm like, man, at least I got some type of way to listen to my music. Because like I always said, music was a therapy for me, especially back in those times. And I had certain songs that I would listen to when I'm feeling down, when I need that extra confidence, when I need that extra boost in self-esteem, and that music would really help me in those times. And the crazy part about it was, today, as I was walking towards the library, I put certain memories, especially of high school, so far back in my mind that I damn near forgot that I used to come to this library so much as a kid. And I know it's been 10 years ago since I was 18. So with all the years that's passed by and all the spliffy that I've had since then, my memory has been starting to fade of all the things that I went through as a child and all of that, which is good because it helps me to focus on the man that I've always knew that I could be is now starting to come out and starting to be free. But it was just something that happened to me when I went inside that library. It's like the minute that I walked in and I started to smell the smell, and everything was just so familiar. All of those memories from 07 and 08 and 09 just started coming all back. And it's like at that particular time, I started to see a version of myself when I was 16, and a version of myself when I was 17, and a version of myself when I was 15, walking up and down the elevator, standing outside, waiting on my dad to come and pick me up, walking towards the computers. And it was surreal. Like when I tell you, it was surreal. And I started to feel all of those feelings that I felt back then, all of that depression, all of that insecurity, all of that, me not understanding why is it that people can't see what's on the inside of me, on the outside of me, and why am I being treated the way that I'm being treated? So like I said, I done the shadow work, so it didn't affect me in the way that I am right now. It just came and passed, but it made a good subject because it was another memory that came to me, and I can't believe that I even remembered this, but this was something that really, really stuck with me. And I remembered that even though I would go through certain things and all of that, I would always remember this memory that I had at this library. And it's like I remember it like it's yesterday now. And it's been 10, 11 years ago since this happened. Now, one thing that I remember was when I was in high school, I got my first cell phone from a chick that everybody kind of knew of her and the different things that she used to do in school, but dudes were scared to talk to her and approach her. They'll just talk behind her back. And I was one of the first ones that didn't judge her and didn't look at her a certain way. I just looked at her as any other girl that I went to school with. And she kind of took a liking to me, and she used to just do stuff for me. One of those things being, she knew that I didn't have a cell phone, so she got me one. Now, this is funny because this changed the game for me a lot, because everybody who knows me knows that I always had a thing for older women. So I would go up to U of M. I have my beard grown out. I have, regular clothes on, so nobody would know that I'm actually from high school. I went and created a MySpace and all of this stuff just so I can fit in with the older cats. And it's crazy that for some reason, I had a lot more confidence talking to older women than women my age. I don't know why. So I would talk to these older women that went to U of M, and they'll be like, what's your number? So me growing up in a real strict household, I used to be scared to get in my number. So I'll be like, look, give me your number and I'll just call you. So she'll be like, all right, give me your phone and I'll put my number in your phone. So I know y'all about to laugh at this, but since I didn't have a phone, I had my silver TI-83 calculator. And I had an address book app on my calculator. So I'll pull that joint out, and some chicks would be like, hell no. And other chicks would be like, oh, that's so cute. You know how that went. So this memory had to been my 11th or 12th grade year, because that's when I had a huge acne breakout, and my dad couldn't really afford the medicine for me. So I had all these bumps all over my face, and I was just not looking right. And then also, I wasn't really able to cut my hair like I wanted to, because my skin in my head was real dry because I was eating the wrong type of foods and stuff like that. So I had a lot of scars and sores and bumps all in my head. So I really wasn't able to cut my hair like that. So the only way that I could really hide all of those imperfections was to wear a do-rag. So every time I would go out, whether it was to the library or to U of M or something like that, I would always put my do-rag and my hat on so I can cover all that up. But this particular time, it got to the point where the bumps started getting all around the bottom part of my face. So I'm like, damn, even if I put this do-rag on, it's still not gonna cover what's going on with my face. So I kind of grew into this depression, because anybody from Memphis, y'all know how it is growing up in Memphis City schools. And if y'all don't, there's this comedian on YouTube. His name is Sub-Rico, Subrico. And he got a video called Checking at Memphis City Schools. And even his video, it ain't nothing but kindergarten compared to how checking really was at Memphis City Schools. So that being said, y'all could only imagine the type of ammo that these niggas would have for me every single day. And it got to the point where even in band class, which was my solitude, meaning that I would literally get my ass handed to me for the other periods in class, and then I couldn't wait to get to band class, because then I'm judged by my skill with the saxophone versus the imperfections with my skin. But even in band class, I used to get flamed. So when you talking about a nigga got some tough skin, man, y'all don't know the half of it. So yeah, around this time, I was in a real deep depression, because it was a situation that I knew that if I had my life into my own hands and I had the money that I needed, I would be able to take control of my life and be able to remedy all of these things that's wrong with the outside of my body. And people will start to see me for the person that I am on the inside, which was Playboy Pete. And I did a whole podcast about how that alter ego was formed. So one night I was at the library, super depressed, not wanting to look at myself in the mirror and all of that type of stuff. And it was super dark outside. So I'm outside waiting on my dad to come and pick me up. And it was this real fine fine chick walked out the door, and she was waiting on her ride as well. Now the thing about it is, even though I looked the way I looked, or whatever situation that I've ever been in, every time I was urged to do something, I would never refute it, because the times that I did refute it, bad things would happen, or that feeling of a missed opportunity. Now at this point in time, with everything being so dark and the light was dim, I knew that I had an advantage, because it wasn't like this chick was gonna fully see what my face looked like. So I'm like, you know what, maybe I can just say what's up. So I walked up to her. I'm super nervous because I don't even know how this is gonna work out. I'm at the point where I'm all checked out, so the last thing that I need is a rejection from another girl. But the crazy part about it is, with this particular chick, her demeanor was just so feminine and just so down to earth and cool. It was like something else inside of me started to take over. That Playboy P in me, that smooth talker, that intellectual mastermind who knew how to seduce with the power of his tongue. That side of me started to come out, and we had a real cool conversation. I was making her laugh. I found out that, you know, she's a model and she's visiting here from Texas, and we was just talking about all the things that we aspire to do, and it was just a real good conversation. And afterwards, she was like, yo, my ride is here, but can I get your number? So me being super confident, because I got a phone now, I pull out my phone and she puts her number in my phone. And after that, I gave her a hug, and around that time, my dad was right behind her, and even my dad was looking a little shocked. And when I tell y'all, I never ever forgot that moment. It was like every time that I felt like I didn't look good enough, every time that I felt like maybe my quote unquote swag isn't up to par, or all of that type of stuff, I remember that through it all, even when I was at my ugliest, I still had something inside of me that was able to pull a very beautiful woman. And that really stuck with me. And it was because of this and other type of situations that no matter how depressed that I got at times, I was never suicidal. And I feel like the reason why is because, unlike most people who come to this world and their baby brain kind of gives them that reset button and they literally forget who they are and stuff like that, it was certain parts about me, certain fragments about who I am that I never forgot. And see, one of my things that I had to learn how to do when I was doing my shadow work was going back to those key moments when I was astral traveling and when I was having those lucid dreams and stuff like that, and really putting all of those fragments together, and how everything that's happened in my life, it happened for a reason, even down to the bad things that I would consider as being bad. Meaning that with my skin condition that I've had since I was a kid, it was always hard for me to sleep. So that's why I was put on stuff like codeine and stuff like that y'all will call lean now. But I was on that since I was like 7 years old, because the skin condition that I had was so bad, I would literally scratch myself to death and I would be bleeding and all that type of stuff. So I would take that medicine just for me to go to sleep at night. And since it was already hard for me to sleep, it would be super easy for me to astral travel, because I wouldn't even believe that I would sleep when I would be in that type of dream state. And every time I go into the dream state, every time I go back into that realm of who I used to be, aka who I really am, I bring small fragments of that back into the physical world. Now, the reason why I named this series Cultivating the Outer Man is because, just like what I said about every woman is a single mother, that's the same thing that applies to us too. And my inner child never liked being a child on the outside, because just like what Bobby Hemmett was talking about, this body that we're in, the 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, is so low vibrational and it's so weak and it's so brittle when it comes to who you really are as a person. It takes you so long for you to be able to even cultivate a small fragment of who you really are in this body. That's why the elders say that when you really become an elder, that's when you really start living. I just looked at a video, I think it was Coach Greg Adams, and he was talking about how men usually don't get into the financial position that they want to be in until they're about in their late 30s, sometimes early 40s, because you have to go through a lot. You have a lot of quote unquote growing up to do before you can really enjoy what this quote unquote life has to offer. It's just like when you're building up muscle. You literally have to break and tear your body in order for it to rebuild as muscle. That's the same way when it comes to cultivating your outer man. You got to go through a lot of situations that's going to tear you down, and you're going to go through a lot of situations that's going to break you down, and even some situations where you have to do it yourself. You got to do the self-destruction. Now, getting to know your inner child was a very beautiful thing, and the reason why I did that series first is simply because you getting to know your inner child and your inner self is going to be the template And all of those characteristics that make your inner child so great are going to be all of the characteristics that you're going to need to carry with you to cultivate your outer man. Now, in this world full of soulless beings that we live in, they try to strip away all the things that make you innocent, all the things that make you original, because they want you to be normal, aka robotic, aka bland, just like them, easily programmed, don't have a mind of your own, can't think for yourself, too afraid to think for yourself. And you got certain things in this life, certain programs that you're required to have, certain programming like school that you're required to attend to, like having parents and the different programming that they put you in, and the different programming that your family puts you in, and the different programming that society puts you in. A lot of these type of things are required in order for you to be in this life, and you can't necessarily rebel all of them at once. Sometimes you gotta quote unquote go with the program when in Rome. That's why with me, my freedom really started, and me finding myself really started when out of rebellion, I left my mom and dad's house and went to Atlanta. That's when I really became a man. Because see, this system of soulless beings, they're only powerful as long as you depend on their system. And the soulless beings who run this system, they know who we are. They know your true self. They know what you're capable of. They know what you can do and how much it can surpass what they've done. And since they got that evil heart, the worst thing that they want you to do is to go off the grid, go off the script, and do your own thing. And the first thing that they try to do is to tell you how much you're gonna fail, how much you're unprepared, how much you're gonna end up having to run back to them for safety and security. So for a lot of people, that fear alone keeps them from reclaiming their originality, aka getting to know your inner child, because your inner child doesn't know limits. Your inner child doesn't know programming, because it's still at the default settings, which is straight from the source. It's like a computer that comes straight out the box, and it hasn't even been programmed yet with the latest OS. So it's literally a bundle of potentiality that you can mold and shape. So us as men, when we use this type of originality, we can be looked at in a very negative light when it comes to society. But if you can just hang in there and keep at it, you know, even though it's gonna be hard trying to chisel away at different parts of you that you had to kind of depend on to make it through. But since you're at a spot now in your life where you really have to take that responsibility and that ownership of everything, a lot of those things you gotta chisel away. A lot of those things you gotta cut it off. And I know it's gonna hurt, but just think about that person that's working out. Every time you gotta tear something and break something down, when you build it back up, it's gonna be a lot more sturdier and stronger than it was at first, because that inner you who is alpha, that inner you who is the God, that inner you who is the hidden sun is gonna always be there. But since this body is so weak and so brittle and so slow, it's a process to get your outer man to reflect what's inside of you. And it's also very dangerous, and it's not really something that you're gonna see, because it's not really something that the masses just want you to accept about yourself. So with me knowing the stuff that I know now, I can go back to those memories when I was 15, 16, and 17, and I was so depressed because I knew who I was, but since my body didn't match what was in my soul and what was in my spirit, nobody could really see the real me. The only time that they could really get a glimpse of who I really was when I was playing my saxophone, was when I was rapping, when I was producing and making different remixes and stuff like that and bringing them to school and selling them, when I was composing music for the band and stuff like that. Even though I was still at my infancy stage of that and I really didn't know the ins and outs of different technical things, it was still something in me that was growing. And since I was still under the guidance and still under the authority of my mom and dad, being under their roof, I wasn't even at the stage yet where I really could cultivate my outer man. So all of those things that happened to me during that time, I just had to let it go because it was just out of my control. But those little small inklings, like the one when I was at the library, it showed me that the man that I want to be, I'm already him on the inside. And as long as I don't lose that, I'll always be able to attract to me what I want. So now all I got to work on is just making sure I never forget who that person is. And every time I go through a situation in my outer self that gets me doubting, that gets me in a state of fear, or gets me in a state of worrying and regret, I have to cut that out. I have to tear that out. I gotta erase that and rebuild myself back to that person that I know that I already am on the inside, aka using the template of my inner child to cultivate my outer man. And I remember I had a comment on my last video of this guy. He was 20 and he was talking about I should do more videos about being an alpha male and cultivating your masculinity. But see, there's a lot of people on YouTube who's already doing that, and they're pretty good at it. But you know me, every time I touch a subject, I gotta put my own spin on it. And for me, this is the most pure form of cultivating your alpha masculinity that you can really get. And this is one of the reasons why, even as an adult, I've never been materialistic. I've never thought that me having the fastest car, me having the most name brand shoes, me having the most expensive shades on, or me having the most expensive clothes on was what I needed to attract a woman. Because I go back to that scene when I was in the library and I was at my ugliest. I didn't have the nice clothes. I didn't have the nice shoes. I didn't have the nice ride and all of that stuff. The only thing that I had was my inner self and me being able to reflect that with my mouthpiece. And that was all I needed to get that beautiful girl's number. So unlike everybody else that I went to school with, it got to the point where I stopped caring that I wasn't pulling any women at school. I stopped trying. So everybody who asked me, you know, why you didn't lose your virginity and all of that stuff until after you got out of high school and all of that, I simply tell them, I mean, I probably could have, but I never tried. Because see, I had a goal for myself that was a long-term goal that I knew it was going to take some tools for me to get once I had that freedom to really be able to branch out and be my own man. And once I got those tools and start chiseling away at different things and start tearing down different things, when I build myself up to be that man that I already am on the inside, women are going to be the least of my worries. So while everybody else was looking for love and looking for things outside of themselves, the main thing that I was more focused on was self-love. And this was something that was ongoing, because I can't lie, man. When I really started to make up in my mind that this is what I'm going to do with my life, you know, cultivating my outer man, aka when I first came into consciousness, that's when I truly started to see all of these roadblocks, especially for these younger guys out here, all of these roadblocks out here that you're going to come across that's going to make you think that the love that you need and the love that you should be looking for is something that's outside of yourself. That's why it's so easy for a fool to fall in love. Y'all see how I had to do the setup in order to segue into my other topic. So why do fools fall in love? And it goes back to this phrase that I've always heard, and that is, you always gotta stand for something, because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And what happens when you fall? You get hurt, and that's with anything. So in order for you to fall, if you're standing on something, or if you're standing for something, that means that whatever you're standing on must be a very slippery foundation. Now, remember what I told y'all in my last podcast that I did about the metaphysics of being peaceful, when I said that in this world that we're living in, at least 75% of the joy that you need to have on a daily basis, it has to be rooted in something that this world didn't give to you. That's the only way that you're going to be able to stay sane in this fucked up world that we're living in right now. Now, if you took that advice, then your foundation that you're going to be standing on is going to be super solid. And when you're standing in a solid foundation, you can't fall. So this is where you have that saying that I hear a lot of people say. The first person that I heard say it was Ron Wills. So shout out to Ron Wills. He said, you could only love a woman or you can understand a woman, but you can't do both. And see, before I found out what love really was, aka when I did my astral travel and I actually went to Venus, aka the love planet, and I met up with Erzuli Freda, I actually refuted that statement. I was like, you can understand a woman or you can understand somebody, and then you can also love them as well. But now, with me knowing the things that I know that not only is that an oxymoron, but it's something that's unethical. I think that's the word. Now, y'all remember the podcast that I did about real men don't get soft, the message from Lilith, when I told y'all that the light, aka the love that comes from Venus, it's a very bright light that can blind you. It's a very draining type of light, and it's also a very hot type of light. But other than that, it's a beautiful light. It's extremely beautiful. That's why when you see people in love, it's so beautiful, you know. And every type of goddess that we've ever had that represents love, they also represent beauty. That's why you can go to Oshun and do love spells with honey, and she's also the goddess of beauty as well. Just like Isis, Aset, Het Heru, Erzuli Freda, and Erzuli Danto that represent black love. They also have an aspect of beauty about them as well, because love is a very beautiful thing, but only when your foundation as a man is slippery, aka you're the type of man that thinks that things that's outside of you is what makes you alpha. You think that, aka your stuffed confidence that fades away, is everlasting, so to speak. So when you meet a woman who's exhibiting that light from Venus, aka that love, aka that beauty that shines through your stuffed confidence, your emotions, which represents water that you don't have under control, because all of that is stuff that you work on when you're getting to know your inner child and cultivating your outer man. Since you don't got control of your emotions, they start to spill all over the place, and it starts to make your foundation slippery. So once a woman shines that love on you, you fall in love. And see, while you're falling in love and that love light is hitting you, you don't feel no pain. It just feels so warm and so blissful and so lovely. You know, it's kind of like when you get into a hot jacuzzi and you super cold from outside, and you come in and you get in that hot jacuzzi. It just feels so good, and the water is bubbling and the jets is coming out and everything just feels so wonderful. But see, that feeling is only temporary. That's why they call it the honeymoon phase. And they always say, as a man, you're never supposed to make any type of life decisions or do anything outside of what you would do outside of that phase. You're never supposed to do that in the honeymoon stage, because literally when you're in that honeymoon stage, you're literally drunk in love. It goes back to that song that Beyonce did called Drunk in Love. And depending on how high you put yourself or how high you put her on the pedestal, that falling in love may be a long fall for you. But you know what they say, the bigger they are, the harder the fall. So the bigger your ego is before you fall in love, the harder the fall is gonna be, and the more you're gonna hurt afterwards. Because like I said, that light of love is blind. So if you're falling too far in love, you're gonna be so blind that you're not gonna see the different road signs that you might have needed to take heed to, not only in that woman, but just in the downward trajectory of your life in general. I mean, your family might be telling you and trying to warn you, and you go swear them off, you go cut them off. Then your friends, your soul family be like, yo man, I don't know about this, man. You need to turn around. You need to turn around before it's too late. And you start cutting them off because you're just in this blind bliss of this love light. And since you don't love yourself, that love light is foreign to you. So anything that's foreign to us, we hold it to a higher standard of beauty than the things that we see every single day. It goes back to that podcast that I did when I was talking about the black man and the white woman. It goes back to that. And then what I say, love and the light of love is also draining. See, while you're in that jacuzzi, you don't really know how much you've been drained until you lift your hand out the water and you look at your fingers and you see how old and wrinkled they start to look. And sometimes you stay in that state so long and you're so drained to the point where it's hard for you to even muster up the energy to get out. AKA, while you're in that falling in love phase, you have kids, you marry that woman, you get into different physical binds that keeps you chained to that individual, that when you finally get out of that stage and you see that maybe you've made a grave mistake, now you got some contracts that you made that you're not just going to be able to break those contracts so easily. And see, I'm not even talking about just men, because women, y'all can listen to this too, because since Venus is a feminine energy, even though us men fall harder in love and it hurts us a lot more, especially if we haven't cultivated that inner child, which is our version of the feminine, y'all are literally the embodiment of this. And you have to learn who you are and the power that you possess so you can know what men around you and what men that you're coming in contact with is compatible and who will be able to handle and withstand that type of love that you have. So you won't be out here just being a vampire to these lower level men, and actually get with somebody who's gonna balance you out. So what's the third thing that I said about the light of love is that all in all, the light of love can burn you. Just like how you stay in the sunlight for too long, you can get a sunburn. Now with us, the burn happens after the thrill of the love is gone. And now you're feeling hurt because you're pissed off that you didn't see all of these things coming, even though everybody and their mama tried to warn you and tell you what was going on. Now you're in a situation where, quote unquote, they say it's cheaper to keep her. You're in that situation where that man was in that was looking at his looks, his money, and his status, and thinking that that's what's going to keep you secure when it comes to dealing with these women. When y'all don't realize that we're in a new age. We're in an age where it's a lot easier for women to make money now than men. I said this before on the video that me and Alexandria Wells did. You got women out there who got nice bodies. And since we live in this overly sexualized society, if they don't want to, they don't got to go to college. If they don't want to, they don't got to get up and get a job. All they got to do is create an OnlyFans account and create a premium Snapchat account and create a webcam account and just be at home all day dancing in front of the camera naked naked and pretty much doing things with their body and selling these men a dream, because a lot of these men are insecure within themselves. So they think that that's really the only form of getting satisfaction from a woman that they even deserve. And these women can make a pretty good living doing that. Shoot, like I said, I knew women in Atlanta who was doing stuff like that, and they was giving me money. And I was like, you got a job? It was like, no, I ain't got no job. I got an OnlyFans though. Well, it wasn't OnlyFans back then. It was being a webcam girl. And they was able to make a decent living off of that. You know, working at the strip club at night, having dudes throw money at them, literally throw money at them, and they just shake their ass a little bit, you know, pick up the money, dip out. As men, we don't really have that luxury. You know, we really have to get out here and hustle. We really got to get out here and grind, because for us, being a gigolo, you know, somebody who lives off of women and stuff like that, for a lot of us real men out here, that's still looked at as having a negative connotation on it. So it's getting to the point where you're not going to be able to use the system of soulless beings form a currency to attract genuine women. I mean, it goes back to this scene, and I wish that I could put it in this video, but I know I'm gonna get copyright strike for it. But it's this BET Plus series. It's called Bigger. I think it's called Bigger. And I ran across this on Instagram, and it really spoke volumes. It really spoke volumes. And it was this scene to where it was this woman and this man, they was in the bed, and it looked like they may have just finished having sex. And so while the man, you know, his shirt was off, he was in the bed, and the girl, she's sitting on the opposite side of the bed, literally right next to him, and she's on the phone with this other dude while her dude is sitting in the bed right beside her. And she was like, you know, you want some of this? Well, it depends on what type of restaurant you take me to, or something like that. And the dude, he turned around and he was like, so you just gonna do that shit right in front of me like I'm not right here? And she said something into the effect of, either you're gonna be in my bed or in your feelings, pick one. And the dude just turned around and clenched the sheets like he was the chick and she was the dude. And I was like, wow, that's how they giving it up out here? That's how they giving it up? And every time I see stuff like that, it really makes me so glad that I never forgot who I was on the inside. I never forgot that Playboy P inside of me that can just say the right thing to a woman and get her wet. That Playboy P inside of me that just always had the right type of vernacular that could just undress a woman without me even having to touch her. And these are the type of traits that not only make you very magnetizing to women, but even on a therapeutic standpoint, I've had people tell me that my voice is soothing and I got a therapeutic voice because this is something that I've been cultivating for so long. And I know that I could probably go into therapy, I could probably go into hypnotherapy and be pretty good at it simply because of this gift that I cultivated since I was young. So it goes back to the question, why do a fool fall in love? A fool falls in love because he doesn't understand what love is. Not only that, the fool falls in love because he was foolish enough to build his foundation on stuff that's not everlasting. So when he finally, quote unquote, met his match, his emotions spewed out all over the place. So while he's running and chasing her, he fell in love. Now, the reason why the man who understands women is a lot more desirable in the long run than a man who loves women, it goes back to what I said about love. The man who understands what love is, you know, he's that type of dude that's outside in the planet Venus where the love is, and he's accepting love head on. But see, the difference with him is, number one, he got his shades on. So even though he's walking into the love don't blind him because he got his shades on. So he can still see through her bullshit. He can still see through her bullshit, even though he loves to be around her, even though he loves her company, even though he loves her body and he loves her sexiness. But nothing that she can do emotionally can knock him off of his square because he can see through everything because he got his shades on. Number two, the man who understands love, since he didn't fall in love, better yet, he prepared for love, meaning that he cultivated his outer man using the template of his inner child so masterfully to the point where, yeah, he's out there and he's enjoying the love, but also he got his sunscreen on, so the love can't burn him. It don't matter how bright that love light shines, it'll never burn him because he got that sunscreen on, aka he won't get soft. Why he won't get soft is because while everybody else others was working on their stuff confidence, this person, aka me, in my journey, have been working on taking in light, taking in that knowledge, you know, falling down, getting injured, having to bandage myself back up and get back out there and fight, aka building that muscle, aka wisdom, so that when that love light gets in front of me, it ain't nothing because I done been through worse in my life. So I can take that love the way it's supposed to be, which is supposed to be very therapeutic. Because if you're the type of man that works out a lot and your muscles get cramped up and stuff like that, when you go into that jacuzzi, it's very therapeutic, you know? Just like when you have a very feminine woman who's extremely feminine and she just loves you, she can be very, very therapeutic for you. And you will love to have her around. But since you didn't fall in love, when things get a little too hot and steamy, you can let her go from your presence without feeling some type of weight. No matter how much she puts up a fight, no matter how much she throws a tantrum or all of those type of things that a lot of women would do if they love a man, but they don't understand that their light is too bright and it's too powerful to just be under it all the time. You know, we got to have time to ourselves to be able to recharge from all of this love that we've been getting. And then last but not least, since that man that understands love, he understands how powerful love can be. He understands that love can be draining if he stays in the presence of it too long. And when a man gets drained, he quote unquote gets soft. He knows his limit, and a man that knows his limit can never be drained. And what do you call a man who knows his limit in love? It makes him unpredictable. And women love men who are unpredictable, men that they can't figure out, men who are a mystery. And for me, it's not that I'm a mystery or that I'm unpredictable, it's that I know myself and I know my limit. So it's gonna be different times that you're gonna love on me and all of that, and I may dip out and you may not hear from me for like another week or so. And then when I come back into your presence, you thinking that I was mad at you or something like that, but I'm coming back stronger than I was the first time or whatever. Because at the end of the day, it's always supposed to be a give and take when it comes to love. No one person is supposed to be just giving all the love. It's supposed to be balanced. And that's what separates a fool from someone who is intelligent. That's why I always say, yeah, you should play the fool, especially in this society that we live in. You should play the fool, but you shouldn't actually be a fool. And as long as you're cultivating that outer man, when you meet a lovely woman and you meet a beautiful woman, as long as you've already cultivated that love on the inside, so you got that self-love. The reason why you can look at that beautiful woman as just another woman, because since you cultivated that love in yourself already, you already got that self-love. When you look at her, all you're seeing is a reflection of what's already in you, aka the love light isn't foreign. So you don't treat it as something foreign, you just treat it as something that you've always had around you. So that's the secret, y'all. That's the secret to why fools fall in love, and it's also the secret as far as not falling into the traps, because love is supposed to be a very beautiful thing, but it's only beautiful if you understand it, not just coming into it as a fool would. Because in this society that we live in this world that we live in, being a fool gets you in a lot of trouble. So that's why this stuff is so important, so very important. Cultivating that outer man using the template of your inner child. And then if you do that, when love comes around, you can accept it and you can accept her and all the beauty thereof. So, all right, y'all. So this was my rant video. I hope y'all got something out of that. I know I was kind of rushing it a little bit because I only got but a small amount of time in this area that I'm in the library. And this was a very, very therapeutic experience for me. Just seeing how far I've came in my journey and how far I've really came 10 years ago when I was 18, 11 years ago when I was 17, 12 years ago when I was 16, and on and on and on. Just seeing the man that I've been cultivating and the man that I've become. And even though I still got a long way to go, it just makes me feel good that I'm on the right track. And I know that with my soul family and with my ancestors, my Orishas, everybody that's egging me on and giving me that motivation like y'all been doing, I know that we'll all be great. So that's what it's about, y'all. All right, well, that's my video. Make sure y'all follow me on Facebook, Instagram, BandClap TV. Make sure y'all subscribe, hit that notification bell. And if y'all can find it in y'all little hearts, also my donation links will be in the description. So as I always say, BandClap TV, we out and stay shining. All right, y'all. Peace.